Welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman. Today, I got a real treat for you. It's a special edition of the Public Works Podcast. I got two on here today. We have Kristin Bean. She is the Executive Director at Alliance of Indiana Rural Water. And then we have Lorean Johnston. He is the Deputy Director at Alliance of Indiana Rural Water. Say what's up to everybody, guys. Say hi.
Hey, what's going on?
All right, we are here today. So we're going to talk about a couple things. We're mainly going to talk about rural water, which is just a little bit of a context. So I'm a part of Arizona Rural Water, and I can kind of tell the push, the plight, the stickiness, the bottleneck of helping our rural communities. You know, they have to make sure the water is good, and they might not have all the resources for it, you know, and they might not have all the personnel for it. They might not be able to get these engineers that come out of these, four-year universities with 5.0 GPAs to come and work in a rural water community, but they need that kind of talent, if that makes sense. So, Kristin, I'll start off with you. You're the executive director. Tell us why it's called Alliance of Indiana Rural Water and not just Rural Water Association. What's the alliance about?
Yes. Well, I think there was a name change. I think it was, I'm not sure what the exact year was, Lauren, you may remember, but we back in the day used to have the Indiana Rural Water Association name, but the name changed somewhere along the lines, and we were rebranded as Alliance of Indiana Rural Water Association. There's actually a couple other associations out there. Our parent organization, if you will, National Rural Water Association, there's a state affiliate in every state that kind of looks up to the National Rural Water Association. And there's some that also have some different names, like New Hampshire is Granite State. And I'm trying to think, Tennessee has Tennessee Association of Utility Districts. So we're not the only unique one. There's other ones that are out there that have a little bit of a different spin on our name. So our actual acronym is AIRW. So.
Okay. I like it. And then Lorean, you're a class 3 wastewater operator, man. We thank, servicemen, hey, thank you for your service and stuff like that. But I feel on the rural side, you guys are in a battle too. It's again, understaffed, underfunded, but still have to get the job done. So A, thank you for doing that, for making that happen. And then B, just kind of talk about like a day in the life of an operator in a rural community versus like a normal city of like 70,000 or more, just so people can have context.
Yeah, for sure. So, though a small city and a large city, obviously large city, you have way more tasks, right? But you have the budget and you have the workforce. So you'll have guys at a large city that they do service line replacement, and that's what they do day in, day out. They have a crew of guys that are replacing service lines. That's just what they do. They got a crew that lives at the wastewater lab, on that side of things, and all they do is lab work. When you get into a rural community, you're going to see one guy or two guys or a guy and a part-time guy who are taking on water, wastewater, streets, parks, dog catcher. I mean, they're doing everything and having to manage that. And, coming from a small system, experiencing that, and it is like, I love to have everything done right. You know what I mean? It's like, if something isn't done to where it should be, it bothers me. And that is hard in a small system because you don't always have the time you need to put towards something. And so it's a balancing act. Like, how much time can I put over here so that I have time to go over here and do this too? And it becomes hard. And so, and I like to think that's where the Alliance, is there for someone to help.
Yeah.
Not only, maybe not physically complete tasks, but hey, we have a different view on this, and maybe we can save you some time if we're able to help share our experiences with operators. So definitely a big difference in large and small. But that was what kept me in rural water, is if I had to go swap service lines every single day. I know there's a guy that does that, and God bless him, but I could not do it. I couldn't make it, and being able to say, I'm kind of getting flustered with this project, and I have this one on the shelf I need to be working on too. So I'm going to step away and I'm going to go get a little breather and change the scenery for a minute and come back to this. So definitely
that's
a nice
one
part
thing.
of it.
That's one thing I've learned from a lot of the rural water operators is that you become a jack of all trades. It kind of sets you up to go anywhere, from that position because you do it all. Like you literally, like you said, you learn streets, you learn how to get cats out of trees, you learn how to talk to the public, how to,
Right.
the lady who lives just outside of town and she's 99 years old and she's like, hey, my water looks dirty. Like, you figure out how to have those conversations and, stuff like that, which is a lot of things that guys don't get when they work in the big city and kind of the monotonous over and over
Right.
task.
Yeah, I walked in as a mowing the grass, and when I left there after 10 years, I was certified for water treatment, wastewater treatment. I could operate and confidently operate heavy machinery. Multiple certifications and like you said, a jack of all trades, just a broad, I probably still could say master of none, but a little bit of everything. So.
But you know what? Like most things in life, if you're 75% good at doing something, like you're pretty much good to go. Like if you're 75% at playing that guitar behind you, you'll get some listeners. You'll pack out a bar, man.
Yeah, right.
Kristin, talk us through the most common, I guess, request, the call that comes to your desk from these rural water communities in Indiana. What are they asking about nowadays?
Well, I think there's definitely a plethora of things, and obviously we have water issues, wastewater issues as well. But I think one of the biggest common things that we're experiencing right now with our operators in the utilities has been regulatory requirements that they've been trying to keep up with. A lot of the federal mandates that have been going on, talking about lead service line inventories, that's obviously been a really big thing. That impending deadline's October 16th, and we actually hired a lead service line specialist last year this time, and we took on a new program thanks to our partnership with the IFA and a group called Arcadis to assist our rural communities and very small utilities with addressing that. And so that has been a big thing that we've had a lot of inquiries and requests for assistance on. There's obviously kind of a lot going on with PFAS, and that sort of that area has been a recent issue that people have been talking about a lot, and there's probably even more to come on that. But obviously, I'm sure you've heard of the recent EPA. Did I just cut out?
No, your audio's still with us.
Okay, yeah. It looked like I was frozen in time on my end. So LSLI has been a big thing, and all the lead and copper rule revisions has been a big thing. A lot of things with the EPA as far as PFAS, and those I think those rules just kind of came out. The final rule on that kind of came out recently. So we've been getting some inquiries on that. But really, federal mandates have been some of the biggest things that have been going on. We have had a lot of leak detection, leak audits, or water audits going on that I think we're in an even year. So I think that Lorean, those are due now, aren't they?
The validations of the audits, yeah.
Yeah, those are due this year. So we've had a significant amount of inquiries to get that done. We have several validators on our staff that have been staying really busy with that. Lorean, what are some other things that you think we've been?
Just more on like a local level, but I think is probably something shared nationally is we constantly get phone calls from the smaller towns saying like, hey, what do we do for an operator? How do I get an operator? I can't keep anybody. I don't have anybody. What do we do? And so that's a big struggle. Like you mentioned, you only have so much of a budget in a small town, and keeping those people around, especially someone that's very determined to be successful, they're going to quickly learn what they can at that small town, and they're going to get some enticing offers and move on. And so trying to keep them in, that's hard. But one of our answers to that, and it came from NRWA, is the apprenticeship program, and it's really taken off in the state of Indiana. We're close to 80 apprentices currently enrolled right now in Indiana. We're also working with Kentucky, have some of their apprentices working under our apprentice director for that, and it's been really successful. I think we're close to 45 graduated apprentices in the program since 2018, and it's structured through the Department of Labor. So they do an earn while you learn program. So as they progress and as they build skills, they're rewarded for it. So they don't feel like, hey, I'm picking this up and it's benefiting the town and I'm not seeing anything. It kind of adds to that. And the town gets to manage that earn while you learn schedule so that it fits their budget. But with all things, you have to stress to that town too, is like, you're investing in something. Like anything else you invest in, you got to protect that investment, because if not, they're literally going to walk out the door. And as the program has gained recognition, people know that we are providing a good education, a well-rounded education for operators, and that these operators graduating the program are knowledgeable and they are sought after. So, it's making sure that towns know, protect your investment, keep that person around. Look at what you did to build that career for them, and you want them to invest themselves back into the community. So
I think most places are having personnel issues across the board. I think a couple years back we saw what they called, the Great Resignation, and there were a lot of utilities that really took a hard look at, their compensation and benefits packages and made some really good strides to improve that. So I think that there's definitely still a lot of work to be done in that regard. But like Lorean said, the apprenticeship program that we have in place through National Rural Water is a good place to start for some of these utilities that are struggling, that do need qualified, employees.
I want to kind of reverse engineer the apprenticeship program. So does this start at high school? Does it start, you said it's kind of through the Department of, or the labor department of the state, but I guess the question I'm asking is, where do you find this talent from? And then also, like, if you're a rural community, let's in Indiana, like, what is that because in sales and marketing, you kind of want to know what your customer looks like, what that avatar looks like. Like Lorean, he likes guitars, might like guns and like hunting. You can kind of tell, like, you know who you're talking to when you put out your marketing materials. So when you guys are trying to find those apprentices, the young apprentices, who is that person you're trying to reach? Is it a person who's not going to college? They might have, checkered grades. They might have a checkered past, like a criminal history. Like what's the average avatar, the type of person you're reaching in that apprenticeship?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a broad net, if I can say that we cast out and get. I mean, we have very young candidates, and we have some that are middle-aged, and maybe they just went through a career change, or something wasn't working, or they wanted to get involved in something else. So it is a broad range. We do have a focus on youth outreach. We try to get out there and promote this as a trade, a skill that you can get, that you don't have to go to college. I know when I went through college, it was like you go to college or you don't do well, and that wasn't necessarily true, but that's what they pushed on you. And so we want to show that this is a trade, this is a skill that builds a very good career, and it's high demand. You always need water and wastewater. It's not going anywhere. But we have all different ages, all different types of people. We've worked with multiple groups, so groups that support veterans, groups that even support, those that were incarcerated and got out and are looking to build their career after the fact. And so we try to reach out as far as we can, and anybody that is interested, we try to make it work. We've had candidates reach out looking for a system. We've had systems reach out looking for a candidate. We've had some systems that they have a guy that they think would work really well, and they want to try it out, and they're already at the town, and they just don't have that training yet. It's been implemented a lot of different ways, even as a succession plan. You got a guy that he knows he's going to be out the door in 2 years, or at least he thinks, you know what I mean? So, but a good time to go into the program. It's a 2-year program. You can feel confident that when you leave, when they have problems, they have somebody to call, and you're not out in the middle of a lake getting a phone call about where that valve is that shuts down the water tower because things are going crazy, But,
I think too, Joseph, one of the things that Lorean was touching on with the youth outreach, and that wasn't necessarily always, something that was pushed on the youth was what this as a trade is even an option. I have several operators in my family who didn't get into it. Like my dad is an operator in Florida, and he didn't get into it, and it's kind of become his second career. His second half of his career is when he started to get into the water industry. And I know that I've heard the same thing from a lot of people, is that they don't even know that it's a career option because it's not something that's super forward facing. It's not, pushed like a police officer, a firefighter. When you ask little kids like what they want to be when they grow up, you don't hear someone saying, I want to work in water or wastewater. It's not something that's really touted, very highly. So I think that one of the things with our youth outreach, part of our apprenticeship program, is doing things like what we did last week, working with Hartford City. They put on a water field day. And how many kids were there, you think, Lorean? I mean, it was over 100.
It was close to 100. I think it was like
close to 100. It seemed like over 100.
Yeah.
So almost 100 students from local schools came, and they did all kinds of demonstrations and showed them things that they would learn as an operator and things that they would be working on. And it was phenomenal. And shout out to the guys at Hartford City, because they put on an amazing day for those kids. But things like that, where those kids are learning that this is a viable career option. Yes, they may be too young to maybe be thinking about their career, but I've heard lots of people that are in their careers now have, had a moment, back in the day that they learned something and they found an interest in it and they took it and it turned into a career. So it's not off the table that somebody might really find this interesting and take it a step further. So that's why we're trying to educate.
Seeing the like 9, 10, 11-year-olds, a group of kids, and one of the staff that's participating quizzes them on the colors for identifying lines for 811, and they know them, is like, wow, I know grown people that don't know that.
Yeah. And how much, like answering how much water weighs and getting it correct, and just different things like that.
It's pretty impressive. It really is. They do a wonderful job up there.
I was actually completely mind blown when I was watching those kids answer questions and know them, and I was just like, wow, I think we need to recruit you. Like, come on.
But you know what, you're making a good point. Like the recruiting at such a young age, like little kids wanted to be astronauts and firefighters and policemen because they saw that when they were younger. It's usually the uniform. Like I swear, I wish if Public Works or Public Utilities had a uniform, like something that just they saw everybody wearing the same thing. Granted,
I think you might be on something. I think you might be on something there.
But think about it. If they see, just think about some of these cities, how there's 50, maybe even 100 public works operators that are riding around the city. And if they saw that uniform, they would go, I can associate that with my water being clean, or I can associate that uniform with my street being paved, or that, making sure the trash is cleaned up. But that's my soapbox. But one thing I wanted to ask you, Kristin, was, planting that seed at a young age, and then seeing it on the tail end of being that proverbial matchmaker. You have the talent and you have the need, that the system who needs the talent. Putting that together, what does that feel like? And then give us like a story of when it happened and how it worked out for that system.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, let me think about this. So you're looking at I think is kind of the question you asked before, which was like, how are we finding a candidate and getting them, to the right place? Am I following correctly? Well, I think, and Lorean might have a better answer for this, but someone like Kaylee Bollinger, and I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly, I hope I am, with Bloomington, I feel like that has been a really good example of maybe someone that's kind of, ended up in this field and just taken it and been really successful. I don't know her beginnings completely, but she's been kind of someone that's been really successful. So do you happen to know her story a little bit more? But she's the one I thought of that.
Yeah, she was she's going to school. I think for some type of biology. She's a very smart individual, but she got interested in wastewater at Shipshewana. I believe she started as like an intern and got on there through the apprenticeship program. And if you know the state of Indiana, Shipshewana is like way up north of the state, but she worked there for a while, did very well. She was wanting to move closer to where her school was and continue it. So we found another town. I think it was Greencastle, I think.
That sounds right.
And they welcomed her in. They carried on the apprenticeship program. We swapped it over, and she worked there for a little while. And she, just to give you an example, like when I was on a program and asking, doing check-ins with apprentices, see how it's going, right? One of the questions we ask is like, what's in wastewater? What might you find in wastewater, like raw wastewater coming in? And it's just basic knowledge, see where they're at. Typical answer, you're going to hear food, tampons, condoms, plastic straws, wrappers, and I ask her and she's like, well, amoebas and, stock ciliate. And I'm like, yeah, that's not what I expected.
Yeah,
but yeah,
you're right. But yeah,
you're right. So anyways, her journey continues on. She has the opportunity to start working for Bloomington, which is one of the larger facilities in the state. Class 4, 24-hour plant, starts working there, continues the apprenticeship program. Well, they were so impressed with her knowledge and her ability that she was actually promoted to the assistant superintendent of the treatment facility, and cool. Where she currently works now. And just to add on to that story, she her boyfriend at the time got into the apprenticeship program in a whole nother system, and he's made it through the program, and they're just got married. So we have two apprentices that both independently went through the apprenticeship program and then ended up getting married at the end. So it's kind of
we're here to serve utilities, form love connections, whatever you need, we're here for you. Okay.
I can't wait till their 17-year-old son is like, I'm going to be a wastewater treatment facility worker.
100%. We're counting on it.
Good stuff.
So she was
go ahead.
A standout when you mentioned that. I was thinking of her for sure.
It sounds like it. And I can see how you can foster that. The check-ins, I think that's huge because there's been plenty of programs out there where you send somebody out, they go and start doing work, but there's never really a follow-up like, hey, how's it going? Are they treating you right? Are they feeding you? Blink twice if you're okay. So it's cool that you guys do check-ins. What stemmed that? And then I guess talk us through some more of the questions or the talks of the check-in, what it sounds like.
Yeah. So through the apprenticeship program, there are some steps along the way that are required, that are done usually through our apprentice training director. But we have a team of individuals that travel the state, and so it only makes sense that if you're at a utility and there happens to be an apprentice there, see how they're doing, see if they have any questions. See, I like to do a progress check. You'll meet somebody, you hear, oh, they have a new apprentice. I'm going to go introduce myself, let them know that I'm here if they have any questions, or if they want a second eye on something. So usually I'll just start off on a first one, just like, let's walk around the plant and see what and then as time goes, you check in again and kind of base progress off of how they answer different questions. This is what's going on in this tank? Well, there's air in it, and oh, okay. And next time, what's going on in this tank? Well, we're putting air in it so we can eliminate the ammonia so we can meet compliance. And you're like, there we go. Now we're hearing some stuff.
That's progress.
Then before the next progress, you get a phone call and they're, hey, my ammonia spike, and I tried this and I tried that, but it's not working. And you're like, okay, that's even more progress. I'll come by and we'll figure it out. So, it's just, we're here. That's what we're here for, is especially if we're going to get you involved in our apprenticeship program. We want you to be successful. We want to provide as much resources as we can, so that you you are successful. And so, as anything in life, it's only as good as you're willing to make it. We can provide as much resources as we can, but you have to utilize it. And you'll see ones that go above and beyond to use everything they can, for sure. So
yeah. Kristin, one thing that I've noticed being a part of a lot of nonprofits is that, let's say there's a scholarship for high school students who want to go to college. They get $5,000. They just have to fill out a form, come and do a presentation. and they get the money. But the hardest part is being able to get the word out to the local high schools for them, the kids to actually sign up for the scholarship to come and do the presentation to get the money. It's kind of like we're begging them, please come take our money. So what's it like getting the word out of all the the interesting fun, the value you guys offer to these rural communities? But some of the rural systems don't know what you do or don't even know about like what value you guys provide. So how's it been getting the word out? What's your best practices to get the word out to let them know, hey, here's how we can help you?
Sure. So I think a lot of it, honestly, a lot of the growth that we've had has been from our staff as boots on the ground, word of mouth. So we have a significant number of utilities. I think we're at, I'm trying to think, I know we have over 1,000 members now. There's probably about, I want to say 700, I don't know the exact number right now, but it's about 700 or so utility members that we have. There are more than that in the state. So, our hope at some point is to have everyone a member of the Alliance so we can assist everyone. But I would say, we have our totals right now is about 20 staff, and probably a little more than half are on programs that are out in the field every day assisting utilities. And we also, one of the ways we get the word out is our staff that's on these programs through the federal government. They are actually visiting utilities that may not even be members, that they're just like, hey, we know you're not a member, but we exist and we're here to help our utilities. Obviously, we have a focus on rural communities, but we're here to help everyone that's in the utility world. So a lot of them will just go to systems, even if they've been there before and they've, not become a member. We're just here to say, hey, we're here to help when you're ready or you need us. There's even been times that we have assisted utilities that aren't members, just because we want to show that we're here to help and that sort of thing. So that has been a big thing for us, having that staff that exists, the technical assistants, that they're out driving to utilities every day. And then I think, just like I said, word of mouth, people hear about the programs that the technical assistance that we're providing and how great it's been for these utilities and these communities. Like you said, a lot of them don't have the resources, they don't have the funding, and they don't have the technical expertise. And so we're a great place to look to for that. And we have a significant amount of knowledge amongst our personnel that can assist. So
yeah, if I can add to that, I think the biggest thing that sells it or advertises it or however you want to market it is itself. As it's grown, it exponentially grows, so we were very lucky to get the support of the Indiana Finance Authority, the IFA in the state. They recognize this as a very useful program for tackling the workforce issues in the state. And so they provided us grant funding for those that are low income communities that can't really afford to provide the training, to provide the funding to train individuals. So we were seeing some training reimbursement, salary reimbursement, and it's not, you hope that someone isn't getting into it for the wrong reasons, but it was able to promote it, get some of the first people through the program, let people see that, oh, this is successful. And now we have a state conference and we make sure to highlight our apprentices, and we'll put them all up on stage during the lunch ceremony. And it's getting to the point where you look at it and you're like, man, wow, that's a lot of people. And I think the more people see that, they're like, okay, maybe we should look into this. It seems to be going well. So yeah, I think it advertises itself with the success.
How can other rural water associations get, I guess, recognized by the state as that, essential or, needed to be able to get that type of funding? Is that like something you guys did, was that something you guys sought out to do, or did it kind of just fall in your lap and like, hey, this is pretty cool?
I wasn't a part of the original conversations, but I know from working with the IFA that they support programs like this. They're very results driven. So they're willing to try something. And if it sounds like a good way to tackle a problem or a goal that they're trying for, and like I said, results driven. So once it showed that it was performing and we were producing operators for the state, they've just continued to support our efforts. So, workforce issues are not only an Indiana thing, as I'm sure you're well aware of. It's a nationwide. Everybody's doing it. So I would just recommend you know, reach out to your state's SRF or, you know, finance authority or whatever it's called in their state, and just discuss the idea. I mean, we have a lot of states now that are involved in the apprenticeship program. And so I'm sure there's a number of different ways to do that. We're actually fortunate too to working with the workforce development in the state. They have next level job grant programs. So it's like training reimbursement. So someone like putting someone through the apprenticeship program, they can qualify for a grant up to $5,000 to cover expenses in the program. And that's something that the state has created that we weren't really a part of that, but we can help systems apply for it and pay for that training. So a lot of available resources. I have to give it up to Indiana as far as like supporting and and recognizing the issue.
Yeah, our apprenticeship coordinator, Kelly's been really big advocate, obviously for the program, but with that next level jobs grant, she's been helping a lot of utilities get that funding. What you said about other state associations, they're obviously working just like us through National Rural Water Association, but one of the things that's also helped us was getting our program recognized as an official apprenticeship program through the Department of Labor. So that would be a really definitely good thing to get done. And we're the only recognized water and wastewater water and wastewater program through the state of Indiana that's an official registered program. So that's definitely helped absolutely reach some of these utilities and get that awareness out there.
Sure. Your annual conference, you touched on it a little bit lightly, but I like these conferences, because they kind of get everybody in the same room, and you can kind of cast a message, or you can cast you can prophesy like, hey, where we're trying to go, where we see the industry. And then also you get to hear back from those who the rural systems and say, hey, stop doing this. We want you to change that and do this to help us. So like, what's been that, if your conference has already happened, what has been kind of that tone, that message from this Cures conference that like other people might want to know, because they might be, seeing that issue coming soon for their state?
Yeah, so we just had our biggest event of the year. It was our spring conference down in French Lick, Indiana, at the French Lick Resort, home of Larry Bird. And we had I think just about 1,200 people, something like that. Big, great showing, some record numbers we had. And I'll tell you just real quick, one of my favorite things about these events is, and that event in particular, we do some different hospitality events where people can kind of get away from the sessions and kind of just take a moment, and seeing just like professionals who have similar challenges and things that they face on a daily basis, kind of just enjoying themselves and being able to talk. And they may be talking work and they may not be, but a lot of times work comes up just because they live in the same world. And when it becomes your daily, it's your livelihood, it becomes your daily kind of almost persona. I feel like these operator positions it's kind of like a lifestyle job. You kind of like live, eat, breathe the water world, the water and wastewater world. And so it was pretty cool. I always try to like scan the room and kind of just look about at the people enjoying themselves and having conversation. It's just such a good group of people. But that's kind of my favorite thing of the event. I know you didn't ask me, but I just wanted to share anyway. But as far as like topics and theming and kind of things that maybe came up, I think a lot of, like I said, a lot of the regulatory issues, and we kind of tackling a lot of that. I'm trying to think what other some theming. Lorean may be able to chime in here, but I know we had a strong focus on funding, regulatory issues, which seems to be a persistent thing in recent times. There's so many of them to tackle, especially for these rural communities. The emphasis we were not expecting the number that we had show up to our lead service line inventory session. We had 90 or 92 people that showed up to the session. And I think the most that we had gotten was maybe like 40, Lorean. What do you think? Wow. Like something like that. And so we actually had to move rooms. We were like, oh, we were not anticipating all of these people for this.
It's a hot topic.
Because we put it out there for registration, and
Yeah.
it was a complimentary session. You actually didn't have to be part of the conference for it. And yeah, like 90 something people showed up. So we had to move rooms because more than double the amount of people we were expecting showed up. So that was kind of like a kickoff to the conference, like a kind of a pre-conference thing, that a significant number of people were like, we need to get on this because this is, due in October. Lorean, do you have any other kind of particular things that kind of came out of the conference that you saw?
I know this isn't a new thing by any means. People have done this for a long time, but like we never have had roundtables at our conference, and we decided to do that this year, and we had wonderful feedback on that. We had great engagement, but we were able to pick some kind of hot topics and get who we would say are our resident experts on those topics and give them a table. And we just did short 10-15 minute sessions and would rotate, pick a different table, or if you're really interested, stick around. But we get really good engagement from that and a lot of good feedback saying, I like this. And it gives the operator that, in a large room isn't going to raise their hand, that chance in a small group to kind of get involved and ask the question, or maybe they hear something more specific that fits and they meet someone that they can continue that conversation with on the sidelines. So I think going forward, we're going to continue to do that. And I would suggest anybody that's doing it, it's a great way to kind of create the community for topics and give them a chance to engage on whatever level.
Sure. Good stuff. All right. Where do we see the future of rural water systems going? Kristin, go ahead and start us off. Whether it's AI or, World War III is going to happen, and, the political landscape, like, where should we be prepping? Like, give us the future of a rural, like maybe the stuff you might have heard, some murmurs that might be going around, but just what they can look out for, like what to look out for.
Well, I would say one of the things that's been really concerning and these utilities really need to stay abreast of is cybersecurity. And you mentioned AI. There's been a lot of targets on utilities from overseas, and even
what are they trying
internally.
to do?
Well, they're trying to hack the water system and kind of either take over the system or lock them out of being able to maybe access their SCADA or and I don't know. Lorean may have some more insight into some of that I didn't mention, but that's definitely we've been really pushing on making sure that utilities are staying the most cyber secure they can. We offered some sessions at our spring conference on that, and we're going to definitely continue to do that. And I know I think on our EPA program we have a pretty strong focus on that as well. And one of our staff, Adam, he's got a really good background in cybersecurity and has a really good understanding of that. So he's been doing some sessions on that and teaching that. And actually, one thing that we've even really looked at, even though we're not a utility, we're here to assist utilities, is making sure that we're practicing what we preach. So we even hired a new IT company here and did like a full IT kind of assessment to ensure that we're staying more cyber secure too. And so we've done that, and we have some really good things in place here internally that we're trying to promote to utilities to continue keeping up with. Lorean, do you have any thoughts on the cybersecurity thing? And
yeah, I think going forward, it's going to be a big topic. I think EPA has already shown us that it's a priority through what they tried getting introduced into the sanitary surveys on water systems with requiring cybersecurity assessments and stuff like that. I think in the future we're going to see some sort of requirement for a cybersecurity assessment, and I agree that we need to look at it. I mean, it's very important, water and wastewater. If it wasn't functioning, or if it was affected in any way, it could be very dramatic. So I think we're going to continue to see it, especially as it becomes more local. I think it was last week we had Texas, small rural water system in Texas. I've heard a small rural water system in Florida where they were tampering with chemical addition and slowly increasing chlorine and stuff like that. And then you even hear of people where they've seen where people have gotten in and not done anything, and that can be concerning as well, because if they don't do anything, you don't know they're there. So what happens when they're in
Yeah.
a whole bunch and do it all at one time? You know, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
but definitely something we want to be aware of. And again, as a small system, you don't have as much resources. So we're trying to find out the best ways to provide those resources affordably for those systems.
It's tough to say what the future of AI in the industry is. I know particularly a lot of our rural utilities, I don't think are tapping into that quite yet. I don't know if Lorean has any thoughts on that. AI is so vast and intriguing, and
Yeah,
there's
it's
probably a lot
a
of
vague
really
term, yeah.
there's a lot of really good positives to it. It's like social media. There's like some great pros to it, and then there's cons to it as
It's got
well.
a dark side for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I think like as far as the industry goes, I think one of the things that we're going to see is obviously there's going to be like a mass exodus, which I think is maybe been slow and steady, but I think over the next 5 years, we're going to see a rapid increase. And I feel like we're even seeing it now a little bit where like, post-COVID people and the regulatory world that we're in, I think a lot of people are like, man, there's some things I really don't want to deal with now. Maybe this is the time to kind of pack it up, right?
Interesting.
And so I think there's that. I think we live in a very different world post-COVID. And so I think, from now to the next 5, 8, 10 years or whatever, there's going to be a significant demographic kind of switch over as far as what you're going to see. I can already see it from our conferences.
Yep.
It's, there's a lot of younger people getting into the industry that we've never seen before. And hopefully that says that some of what we're doing in other associations and utilities and the industry is doing to bring in more youth. Rome was not built in a day. I feel like I say that a lot, but I'm hoping that we become also, I would love to see us become more diverse. And I think one of the things that we're doing is trying to expand our reach with different places to hire. Like you said, working with veteran groups and working with, there's groups that, like you mentioned, that people that maybe were incarcerated and, had minor offenses and things like that. There's also pushes to hire people of more diverse backgrounds and more ethnic groups and things like that. And people seeing, like, I would love to see that expand as well, because I think if you look at the, primary group of people that are in the industry right now, there's probably a median age in the, I don't know, what would you say, like 40s, 60s, white males. And I think I'm seeing more women. I would love to see even more women. I'd love to see more diverse people and just more groups being able to be exposed so we can, represent more people. And I think water is essential for all of us. And I think it would be a really great thing to see more diverse groups, in the industry.
It's funny. I do think that women have a better, not a better, I want to say, I'm trying to say this the right way. I do think women fit a little better with rural systems because it's more of that communal, that nurturing aspect of a system. Again, you kind of have to know the person that runs the shop who's been at that burger joint for 30 years. You got to know the lady on the outside of town. And it's not just the run of the mill, pounding, just keep going. It's that, they're going to get a call on their cell phone and say, hey, my water's got brown in it. That woman's going to have to go out there versus the guys be like, just suck it, just boil it. You'll be all right. So I do think that women, and it's funny, even in Arizona, there's a good amount of women who are on that rural circuit who do, run those communities. I can tell they have that heart that it's like raising a baby. You're literally caretaking for a community. It's kind of like a child. So it's interesting that we kind of think the same way with the woman aspect. So
there's been a lot of push even from our national office, and we've been seeing it at other associations. It's something it's kind of an initiative I have for 2025 is to start women in water as part of our association and maybe do some events that National Rural Water, like I said, does it. And I've been seeing some events that are women in water kind of geared because, I do think that there's more and more women coming into the industry. And I think that the more varied that, we become in this industry, I think it will add in more, ideas and ways we accomplish challenges and tasks and things like that, and we can all come together and come up with really unique solutions to them. So that's been really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's like what you're saying with the boomers that are retiring and the other generations coming in, with whether they're younger, diverse thought, whatever. It's going to be more ideas. It's not going to be
Sure.
we've done it this way for the last 30 years. It's like, no, like there's actually like shared documents that can like do this for us instead of having to write it down on a piece of paper or remember it in my brain. So like there's
Actually,
going to be just that. Go ahead.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you. I was thinking AI when you said like documents, like taking like maybe something, and that's something that AI can really be helpful with. And I don't think a lot of people have tapped into that, is like taking something and like reformatting it, or rewording some of it to be more modernized or things like that. AI can help with a lot of that stuff.
Yep. Even like a guy said he uses AI for job descriptions, because how many times have we looked at a job description and you're like, who wrote this? Was this written in the 70s? Like, are you just like, they take a piece of paper and they copy it and they copy that and they copy that, and it's like can we rewrite this? And so he just said, just go in AI and say, write me a job description for, wastewater operator. I don't need to have a ton of experience. They got to work in this area. Here's the kind of environment. Here's the crew. And the Chat GPT will just list it all out for him. He'll just make a couple corrections, copy it, paste it. Boom. He's got a job
100%.
description.
And you could even like put
why
in like
sweat over
specific,
it?
100% specific things that, prompts for it. And then it can, draft it up for you. We actually internally just rewrote all of our job descriptions in the last, I guess it was over a course of probably 6 months, right? We rewrote, we have, 20 staff on our team, and we rewrote all our job descriptions and updated them, and, kind of worked on a salary structure plan and those sorts of things for like long-term planning, succession planning, all that. So yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I guess in closing, where can more people find about the Alliance of Indiana Rural Water? What links should they click on? Kind of like, where's the start here so they can be inundated with what you guys got?
Well, 2 places that I love to share are our website, which is inh2o.org. So like H2O, like the acronym. Indiana.
Constantly have to make sure we say it's the letter.
It's
I see a lot of people screwing that up. Smart in theory.
Right. So inh2o, like Indiana Water, .org. inh2o.org is our website, which has tons of information, resources, all of our events, happenings, ways to reach out to us, and then our Facebook, which we love sharing everything that we're doing and the daily assistance of utilities that we do, which is I think our handle is, I think it's Alliance AIRW. Am I right on that, Lorean? I think I am. Alliance AIRW. So facebook.com/Alliance AIRW. We also have a LinkedIn that we share good stuff on too. So those are like 3 good places to check out. But our website has obviously the plethora of resources.
The best way to learn is just get a hold of one of our field staff, and they'll come by and they'll talk to operator, council. I mean, the people we have on staff are so wonderful. We have a great, knowledgeable staff, a lot of experience, and everybody's very friendly. I mean, we're like a family. We consider all of the members, all operators in Indiana, as part of our rural water family. And so getting us on site, that's the best way to learn who we are and how we operate.
Absolutely. We're all about relationship building here, and we're really lucky to have such a great group of people. That's one thing we hear all the time, is how hospitable the staff is and how friendly and kind everybody is. And that's really important to continue that.
Cool. Good stuff. Well, Kristin, Lorean, thank you for hopping on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with the rural community out in Indiana. They're just looking to help. Lorean, I can tell you, he just can't wait to get out there and help people get unstuck. Also, share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it around the country. Maybe you can pick up an anecdote from what Indiana Rural Water Alliance of Indiana Rural Water has came up with. This has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you everybody for tuning in.